1-yard line. Roethlisberger handing it off. This is Connor. He is in for a Steelers touchdown. It is Smith-Schuster who makes the catch.
What a catch.
Finds McDonald, and he takes it in for a Steelers touchdown.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of the Steel Studio Podcast. We are here with Chad Schmock, our NFL expert, to talk Ravens. Welcome back, Chad. We had a pretty crazy week in the NFL, and you nailed the prediction for the Titans game, so great job.
Hey, thanks, guys. It was a great week, but a lot of good football, so that's good for everybody, right?
Yeah, absolutely. So now we have the Ravens in Baltimore, and they open as 5-point favorites. So kind of your thoughts, what's the state of the Ravens team?
They're a very, very talented team. They got a lot better anytime you can acquire a talent the level of Yannick Ngakoue to come in and play defensive end and kind of add him to an already stellar defense. I think that helps. Offensively, they're going to try to run the ball down your throats, and you're going to see a lot of Lamar Jackson. And I think it'll be very interesting to see that tough Steelers run defense against arguably the best run offense in the league, and kind of see where that leads. And I think whoever gets the upper hand there is in good shape. But Ravens are a very quality team. They're one of the top 2 or 3, with the Steelers and the Chiefs as being the top 3 in the AFC. So I'm looking forward to a great football game.
Hey, Chad. This is Rick.
How are you, Rick?
Good. Hey, great prediction, by the way. You said the kicker would miss the kick, and you jinxed him. He missed the kick. I'm hoping you can do that this week, but Justin Tucker never misses kicks. So
he doesn't miss kicks, so I don't think we're going that way.
Speaking of Lamar Jackson, he was league MVP last year. You think he's on pace to win it again? And has he been running as well, and has he progressed as a passer so far?
Great questions. No, I don't think he is on pace to win it again. I think he's having a really good year, but when you get a look at somebody like Russell Wilson over in Seattle that's just on fire, he's tied with Peyton Manning for most touchdown passes up to this point in the NFL season. He's actually on pace to break that record. So I think it's hit right now in October. It's Russell's to lose. I think he's developed a little bit as a passer. I still think the game plan has got to be to make him a passer, but I think you've got to kind of take away that security blanket. Mark Andrews, their tight end, is that security blanket for him. So when things break down, he's going to look over the middle to Andrews. And I think if you take that away, it becomes a little bit more difficult for him. And I think that's kind of going to be the next step of the evolution for him, is to get to that second, third, fourth read and kind of get away from the Andrews aspect. He is running a lot still. It's more now a little bit more of a 50-50 mix between the zone read designed run and then just the play breaks down and the scramble run. So you got to look at both of those aspects of this game.
On to the running backs. Who is the main running back? And they still use several running backs. And what kind of blocking scheme do they run?
So the main running back is Mark Ingram. He's dealing with an ankle injury right now. I personally think they're playing that up a little bit just to get the Steelers off their game. I think he will play, but he is a little bit dinged with the ankle. They use 3. Gus Edwards is their number 2 back. He gets the bulk of the carries when Andrews is out, and then their 3rd down back is J.K. Dobbins, a rookie out of Ohio State, who I honestly thought was going to come in and make a push to start this year based on his experience in the exact same offense at Ohio State, and it just hasn't really come to fruition for him. But he's a very good 3rd back. Blocking scheme, so because they use that zone read offense and they're creating that mesh point, it's blocked a lot like an inside zone run. So a lot of that is the zone blocking principles, but they also line up at times and run just the power run blocking scheme as well.
So sticking with the offense and, talking blocking scheme and everything, with their O-line, with the retirements and changes from last year, has that been a big impact for them this year?
It has. I think it took them a little bit to kind of gel. I think you saw in that Chiefs game that there was some breakdowns up there. There's just not the cohesiveness, but I think they're getting better. every week. And then, coming off that bye game or that bye week and having, 2 full weeks to really prep for the Steelers, I think you'll see an offensive line group that's ready to go this week.
What about the receiving core? I mean, have they progressed from last year at all, or have they kind of regressed?
So I think they're all getting better. I think they're very kind of one-dimensional, if you will. I think Andrews, the tight end that I talked about earlier, he's more of your possession, kind of over the middle tight end. They have Hollywood Brown, who's more of just your fly route, really fast. I'm going to run the deep ball, and they're going to try to beat you with the home run, downfield shot. And then they have Willie Snead, who's more of he can do a couple things. He can go deep, but he's more of like a possession receiver. And then they also have a kid by the name of Miles Boykin, who he's kind of taken a little bit of a step back. I look for him to really kind of burst on the scene this year, and he really hasn't done that. But your main factors are going to be Hollywood Brown and Mark Andrews. Those are the two that are going to need to be taken away if the Steelers are going to win.
We were kind of surprised that they didn't try and get Antonio Brown. I mean, it was kind of talked about all offseason. You have any thoughts there?
Yeah, that was the number one destination for me, honestly, just because of obviously being related to Hollywood Brown and doing a lot of workouts with Hollywood and Lamar in the last couple of off seasons. That was where I thought he would go, but ultimately I think that relationship with Tom Brady. I think Tom Brady taking Antonio into his home when he was really down and out in life, I think that really stuck with Antonio, and I think that ultimately led him to Tampa Bay. But I was very surprised by that.
I wouldn't trust Antonio Brown in my home, my wife.
You better not, Rick. You better not. No, I wouldn't. I don't know. If you notice, as soon as some of those allegations came out, he got out of that house pretty quick. But hopefully Antonio Brown has matured, and hopefully he can kind of get his life back together a little bit.
Hey, we hope so. I had to go a dig in at him what he did to us. So
I don't blame
you, buddy.
You. I don't blame you.
So, Chad, the D-line looks great, and now with the trade they made, how strong is it, and do they put a lot of pressure on the quarterback, and can we run on them?
Can you run on them? That's going to be the $1 million question. I think you can. And I think you're going to have to. They do get a lot of pressure on the quarterback. We haven't really got to see Ngakoue with this team yet, but you team him with Calais Campbell, who's on the other side defensive end, and I think those two are going to wreak havoc on the passer. Big thing for me this week is I think Pittsburgh's got to understand that punt is okay. So don't force anything because you're under pressure. Take your medicine, throw the ball out of bounds, punt the football, and make Lamar Jackson beat you. But defensively, they're very strong. That line is, in my opinion, the strength of the team. But you also look back at those corners. You have Marlon Humphrey back there, who's a fantastic corner. And they also brought in Marcus Peters last year from the Rams, who's another very strong corner. So they're going to be up in those wide receivers' face kind of all game. So I think they have a very, very strong defense.
So, sorry, that was how has Patrick Queen been playing, speaking of their defense?
He's been good. I mean, they haven't asked a ton of him. I think he's somebody that's talked a lot this week about, being hyped up for the Steelers game. So I look for him to go out and really try to make an impression. And I think we'll see very early on if the stage is a little bit too big for him early. But he's been solid so far.
What about their linebackers? Are they good at pass coverage? Or what are your thoughts on their weaknesses?
I think if there was a weakness for them, it would be pass coverage. They do have, LJ Ford is probably one of their better linebackers. They also have Matthew Judon, who's another linebacker. Their preference is to work it after the passer. So if you have a solid tight end or a back that's really good at catching the ball out of the backfield, I think that could be a kind of a trouble spot for them.
Well, that's good to know. What about Marcus Peters? Is he still an all-pro corner?
I don't think he's quite there, but I think not having to be the number one. Marlon Humphrey is their clear number one corner. So the fact that he can now be that number two corner, I think, is really stepping his game up a little bit. But I think he's definitely the one that you're going to have to pick on.
So you think Humphrey's still one of the best?
Yeah, I think Humphrey's a fantastic corner, and he just finds ways to get into people's heads and just kind of take you out of your game a little bit.
Is he better than Butler for the Titans?
I think he is. Butler's still very, very good, but he's aging a little bit, and I think Humphrey's just kind of starting to come into his prime. It's close, though. It's very close.
Yeah, let's hope he doesn't have a strip fumble return like last year against us. That kid's a stud, man.
Very, very talented player. They teach him the right way at Alabama. So,
Chad, how have they made up for the loss of Earl Thomas? That's all right. How have they made up for the loss of Earl Thomas? And if you're going to pass on this team, where you go deep? Is it underneath stuff? What kind of scheme they run there?
Great question. So they actually have a kid named Deshaun Elliott who stepped in for Earl Thomas, and I think he's playing at a higher level now than Earl Thomas did at any point last year. I really thought that was going to be a huge drop-off, not having Earl back there. Now, let me preface that by saying I don't think Earl Thomas necessarily played at a high level at any point last year, but Elliott seems to be getting better every week, and there's not really one way to throw on him. I think you got to get through those progressions quickly, and my opinion is your number 3 wide receiver better be ready to have a heck of a day. I think a kid like Chase Claypool needs to show up and show out this week, because your top 2, Smith and Johnson, I think having to deal with Peters and with Humphrey, that's going to be a lot to ask, but getting that 3rd wide receiver open kind of in one-on-one matchups and trying to exploit that is where I think they need to go a lot of the time.
So what's your official prediction for the game?
Ed, I've been going back and forth on this. I'll say I don't think the NFL did the Steelers any favors by giving the Ravens a bye week going into this, but I think it's a 1-score game. I'm sorry, guys. I think the Ravens take this one just based a lot on scheduling. The Steelers are coming off of a tough physical game against the Titans, and then having to come in and play the Ravens when they're fresh. I think the Ravens pull it out. I think it's close, but I wouldn't at all be surprised if Pittsburgh managed to squeak one out in the end either.
Yeah, it's gonna be a dogfight for sure, man. They're good. They're well coached too.
Can't wait. Very well coached. Very well coached. Harbaugh does a nice job down there.
Well, Chad, thanks a lot, man, and let's hope you're wrong this week.
I hope so.
It's hard
guys.
to win.
Good luck this
It's hard
week.
to win every week in the NFL.
It is. You don't want to peak at the wrong time. So good luck this week. We'll be rooting for you, and I hope it goes well.
Thanks, sir.
All right. Take care, guys.